Because he's presided based on the I didn't know this until I talked to him. You know, the Trump rally and
Yeah.
Hey Jen, how are you?
Hi, Stuart and Tim.
How's it going?
I didn't know we were talking, Jenny.
Well, we can.
No, we can't.
No?
You told us
That's right.
we're not doing it. So.
Well, it's a citywide event, so I think the news might be interested in it.
Whatever.
But if not, that's okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already headed out for some lunch, they are serving that right now. So make your way and grab your plate. It smells delicious.
Right before we
We'll
went
get
in,
started here soon.
No, this is a cat.
I will respond just to confirm that. When we did the whole...
I will grab it for you.
Okay, there you go. Like on the 8th or 9th, she said, when you never talk to me, guys, she didn't mind showing her face on the TV. Yeah. And the 30-minute
Here whenever you're ready. She was so sure
I was on there digging, getting ready to pay, and they said, no kidding. I said, I'm gonna find her.
You're right.
You'll love it. It's just for you.
Yeah, there's always,
She said she thought I wanted to do it.
there's always the,
Yes.
Okay.
Carrot hook.
The carrot
Carrot hook. Yes, 75. So we're gonna call it carrot hook. I think I don't remember what the other one was. There was another one you were on, but somebody else. You know, Melissa Watson got the tequila. You do. Well, there's two part of it. It's such a convenience to get all this stuff. It makes it great. Well, so does this kind of stuff too.
No, it doesn't.
Yes. Would you like well, there is.
You work a lot. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna let that go. I held on to it for you.
I know the people love it. I know the two people who share our He wanted
You know who to buy it?
Okay, so those on the desk are like the ones that I used yesterday. Oh, you got whoever's gonna wear it.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. How is everybody doing today? I hope we're excited about this second day debate. Now we're having Precinct 4, Midland County Precinct 4 candidates, and we can't wait to hear from them. I'm Lucy Cisnega. I'm the chairwoman for the Midland Republican Hispanic chapter. As so many of you know, we opened these chapters 2 years ago, and one of our goals was to inform the community and to support our candidates. And since day one, that's what we decided to do, and that's what we're doing. So thank you for everyone that has support chapter, and we'll hear and we will continue. I also want to thank to our sponsors because, as you know, without their support, there's nothing. It's hard to put these events together. So thank you, Ultra Keep. Thank you for sponsoring. Thank you. Corrales Law Firm. Dan, Councilman Dan Corrales, thank you. Pristine Organic Cleaners, Michelle Corrales over there, thank you so much. We have Joe Kelly, he was here yesterday, Brenda Smith, and New Method Cleaners also. Thank you so much. We have a silent action today. Also, if you have a chance, just go and check what we have there and just support. Thank you so much. At this time, we would like to recognize any former and current elected official. If you can, would kindly stand. Thank you. Former Mayor Ernest Angelo, thank you. Today's debate will continue to focus on the topics of water, taxes, roads, and the Horseshoe Arena. The questions were developed by a small team, including the MRNHA, NewsWest 9, and the public. They were invited to submit questions to NewsWest 9 as well. Thank you to our veteran moderators, Victor Lopez. Thank you. And Emily Oliva. Thank you. Yesterday we had the county judge and precinct 2 candidates. And today we have 3 candidates for precinct 4 county commissioner, and our moderators will introduce them. No, thank you.
Thank you very much, Lucy. And we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on day 2 of this candidate forum. And we will continue, as Lucy said, we'll continue to do today's debate by giving each candidate in order of ballot placement 5 minutes instead of 2 minutes for opening remarks. After these opening remarks, Lucy and myself, or Lucy, I'm sorry, Emily and myself, I'm giving your job to someone else, I'm sorry. Emily and myself will pose a series of questions to each candidate, and you will each have 1 minute to respond to the question, and then you will each have 30 seconds for rebuttal. At the conclusion of today's questions, each candidate will then have a 5-minute period for closing statements. We would like to remind everyone in the audience that this is being live streamed. It is a live event, a live broadcast, so flash photography, booing, or making of any loud noises or disruptive actions is not allowed. So now let us go ahead and meet the candidates for Precinct 4. I'm going to introduce them. Oh, before I get that, we do have timekeepers. Candidates, keep in mind, you do have a generous amount of time to answer your questions and you're making your remarks. But our timekeepers at the table here in front of your table, they will hold up 2 signs. Yellow means you have 10 seconds left in your remarks. Red means that you must stop. Your time is expired. And we will adhere very closely to those times. So please be aware of that. And now, our candidates for Precinct 4 Commissioner of Midland, Texas. Welcome first, former Constable Precinct 4, Charles Hull. Our second candidate is incumbent Precinct 4 Commissioner, local business owner, Randy Prude. And last but certainly not least, former MISD board member and Rotary District Governor, Diane Anderson.
Victor, I'm just going to interrupt a little bit. I would like to ask Pastor Roy if he can pray for us before we start.
Thank you, Lucy. If you would all remember, as I said yesterday, I'll repeat it again today, that we want to be friends after this process is over. How many of you go to church? That's practically everybody in here. So remember that the government of God, nothing trumps that. Remember who you are in this process in Him. Let's pray. Father, we give you glory and thank you for this opportunity for these candidates to come together and simply state their agenda with no ill will toward the other. For we all have to live in this city and this county together. And together, we want to make this place attractive and a better place to live. We want our kids to grow up and to come back to Midland and Midland County and work with us to make this the greatest city that this country can or ever will know. Lord, we love you, and we try every day. We fail, but we try very hard to make you known and to make people know that we are yours. So keep us mindful of that as we interact with one another, as these people are running for local office. Keep them mindful of the fact that they are yours and that you love them as well as the homeless man or woman that's on the street. Thank you for Mark and his company that have provided the food for us today. May it nourish our bodies and give us strength for the course of this day. Help us now as we progress in the next moments. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Okay, we are going to go ahead and get started. Candidates with opening remarks. I will remind you that you will have 5 minutes, and also a reminder that we do have timekeepers, so be aware of the yellow and red papers that they will hold up. So we will begin with Mr. Hall.
I'm Charles Hall. I'm running for Commissioner Precinct 4, and I'm asking for your vote in March. I've been in law enforcement for 40 years, and I was the Midland County Constable for Precinct 4 for 20 years before I retired. Since I've retired, I've taken over my brother's oil company, Hall Oil and Gas. Been married to my wife, Linda, for 39 years, and I have 2 daughters that still reside in Midland. My work would impact my family, and I am very passionate that we need to be doing what is best for them as well as the taxpayers of Midland County. I'm running because I feel that there has been some physical irresponsibility, and I would like to have the ability to work with the court and try to find where we can fix any budgetary issues. I would also like to continue to work on the roads within Midland County, 24.5 miles of road in Precinct 4, but I want to work in all of Midland County. I appreciate the ability to speak with you today, and if you have any questions, please contact me.
Mr. Prude, you're next.
My name is Randy Prude, and I've been in Midland since 1952, so I've been faithful to this city all those years. I went to Lee High School, and then went to A&M Tech, went to A&M when there was no girls, couldn't take it. Finished up at Tech, where I met my wife, and got married in 1973. We've been married all this. Basketball game who did business with the county and said, I probably did the same thing most of you would have done if you weren't really knowledgeable, and said, well, what is that? I said, well, our county commissioner keeps voting with the lone Democrat in the court, and we think somebody needs to represent the Republican view a little bit more. And so I said I would run for office. So I've been faithful to you all those years. When I came into office, the morale of the county employees was so bad you could cut the hatred in the courtroom with a knife. It was just really bad. And I know if you're an elected official in here right now, were there back in those days, you would know the county employees had not had raises for almost 10 years. And Mike Bradford and myself and the Judge Morrow decided we would treat the employees number one and start giving raises. We wouldn't just be with words, it would be with money, and we've more than doubled the average salary in Midland since 1999. And so I'm really proud about that. The main reason I ran was because I believe in the golden rule, treat other people the way you want to be treated. I had gone to a city hall meeting once, and they laughed at me, and I was a young man in my 20s, and they laughed at me, and I thought, that's not right. If you're an elected official, you ought to listen to people, and if you don't agree with them, you can tell them. And so all these years, my number one rule has been treat people the way that you want to be treated. And I've really enjoyed the time I've gotten to do that. The tax rate when I started was 31 cents. And I'll just say this, I've said this out loud many, many times, I actually despise property taxes. I think progressive taxes, just like income tax, are wrong, a wrong way to finance things. I think they ought to be financed with user fees, or consumption fees, and all those kinds of things. Now, you can't get rid of property tax all at one time, but because of our sales tax that we collect in Midland County, we have a half-a-cent sales tax. We've been able to lower our property tax rates from 31 cents when I started to less than 15 cents today. And I'm really proud about that fact. Not only is it low, it is the lowest in the state. The average county tax rate in Texas is almost 60 cents in every other county, and Midland is 15 cents. Now, you might say, well, that's okay to keep taxes really, really low, but what about your services? In my opinion, our elected officials, many of whom are in this room right now, we have more percentage of our elected officials and department heads who have been asked to be the state leader in Texas than any other county I'm aware of. So I'm really proud about our services. I'm proud about our camaraderie that we have together. And I will say that starting in the early, about 2005 or so, whenever fracking got really going on our horizontal drilling out here in West Texas, our sales tax went through the roof. So you can only lower your property tax so much because sales tax is here today and gone tomorrow. As you know, in the oil business, I've been through about 6 of these up and downs since I'm a petroleum engineer. And so we decided to use those reserves that we got from sales tax in 3 different ways. Number one, lower the property tax. Number 2, join in with other city entities like the city, the county, the hospital, the school, and the college, and help them do things that keep their property taxes lower. I'm really proud that we spent almost $20 million of your sales tax surplus doing things like fixing the Midkiff Road, Industrial, Fairgrounds. I'm sorry. And I'm so proud that we're spending money with the school district helping to get broadband for the whole city so that every kid can have access to learning that doesn't have the privileges that all of us have. So I'm proud of relationships. I've spent 24 years developing friendships with the city council, the school board, and all the other entities in an effort to try to work together, because working together we get a lot more done. And the third thing we did with those excess monies were build things like the new courthouse totally from top to bottom. And we built the horseshoe without any, we don't have any debt on that. We don't have any debt on the 2 libraries. And I'm just really proud that we're debt free except for the jail expansion. And that was one where the citizens decided to vote for that. Thank you.
Ms. Anderson, your opening remarks.
Microphone. Okay, service and representation are my key words. I will serve my precinct and county with energy and a new and fresh perspective because of the passion I have for our community. A community where my husband, Ed, seated right there, and I have raised 3 children in a community for which we have served in many ways in many organizations and nonprofits. I am proud to say I served on the MISD school board when this community was dealing with a cluster system. I ran to eliminate the system, and I did it in my first term. I have assisted our community, other states, and in the U.S. and internationally through my association with Rotary International, a humanitarian service organization. As district governor of our local Rotary district, which runs from the Oklahoma border to Pecos, I helped 52 clubs in our local district achieve their goals and manage their problems in progress. I led a Rotary Group study exchange team to the Dominican Republic, where we worked building outhouses, drilling water wells. We also provided and fit prosthetic arms, built a library with books, and much more. I also participated in a 500 wheelchair distribution project in Monterrey, Mexico. Last year alone, I helped make lunches for Midland Memorial Hospital staff, worked a food truck in the summer for food insecure students, and helped lead a grass burr elimination project at Faskin Park. I believe service is the rent we pay for being. Why is all this important? County Commissioner must be active in the community, must have the drive, willingness, and be accessible to listen, to be transparent, to be accountable for the financial health of Midland County. Don Aldam Adams said, to give real service, you must add something which cannot be bought or measured with money, and that is sincerity and integrity. I will serve with sincerity and integrity. What is a county commissioner? The county commissioners are responsible for the county government and its entities, such as the county clerk, things you may not think of, the county law library, big things such as roads and bridges within individual commissioners' precincts, and the commissioners, they make the budget decisions. 4 commissioners elected from precincts separating the county's population serve along with the county judge on the commissioner's court. The commissioner's court adopts the county's budget and tax rate, approves all budgeted purchases of the county, fills vacancies in elective offices, and appoints fills vacancies in elective and appointed offices, sets all salaries and benefits. has exclusive authority to authorize county contracts, provides and maintains all county buildings and facilities, such as the county courthouse and county jail. There are 4 areas of focus for me. Roads. There is no master plan for roads in the county. The county needs to work with the city, state, Motran, real estate developers, and others to develop a master plan so we can budget, apply for grants, and save tax dollars by not simply being reactive when constituents see a vital need. Water. The cities of Midland and Odessa are growing further into the county all the time. The water in the county is awful, and in some areas wells are dry. The county needs to develop a master water plan. Public safety. What happens when a criminal is apprehended in the city or county? Where do they go? The county jail. The sheriff's team needs to have the resources for facilities, training, and officers. It has to have the assets to investigate, arrest, and process the inmates. The horseshoe, it runs in the red every month. Does that rankle you as much as it rankles me? That has to change. That must change. Aristotle said, men come together in cities in order to live, but they remain together in order to live the good life.
We would like to remind the audience that if you have a question you'd like to ask the candidates, there are some forms you can fill out on the back table, so start thinking as you're listening, and hopefully we can ask one of y'all. All right, candidates, just as a reminder, for each question you will have 60 seconds to answer, and there will be an optional 30 seconds for a rebuttal after each of you has gone, and Victor and I will be able to tell you who gets to go first with each question. Question 1. What are your proposed solutions for the water problem in the county specifically? We'll start with you, Mr. Hall.
The county's already made great steps in working on this problem. They have probably enough grant money to take care of all the pipeline. That's been a question I've been asked. What about the water? That's something that we need to work on and move forward on.
Mr. Prude?
Back whenever our reservoirs, the Colorado River system was going almost dry, if you remember that, we got down to within about 5% of the water capacity that those lakes held. And one of the things that we did as the court back in those days was the city had just bought, or had bought many years before, the water rights over in Winkler County. And we decided to go and do the same thing. We bought a field right next to their field that actually turned out to be just about as big and maybe even a little bit better quality water, knowing that one day people in the county would need water very badly. And with the advent of the needs for water for fracking and for the drought, it's been severe. We've had a lot of people are losing their water. So we are working real closely with the 5 different entities, and we've just hired a special water lawyer who may be one of the top lawyers in the state to help us design a whole project and overcome the problems that we have and use the existing pipelines that we already have and so forth. Thank you very much.
Ms. Anderson?
It's good that the court is looking at solutions for the water issues in the county, because it's important that we consider what is happening in our counties as they grow together, in particular Midland and Ector County. So if you look at Precinct 4, which is the area between Midland County and Ector County, you will see a great amount of growth, and there are communities growing there. And like I said earlier, some of their wells are going dry, and the water is just awful. So it's important that we have a plan. We develop what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, and we work with other entities, and that would be the city of Odessa and the county and Ector County, because together we would be able to solve these problems and make it fiscally accountable.
Mr. Hall, would you like 30 seconds for rebuttal?
I just think the county's making progress. We're going in the direction we need to go. We just don't need to slow down. We need to keep going forward. Like Commissioner Prude said, they've hired a lawyer to help them get through all the traps in getting this done.
Mr. Prude, your rebuttal? Ms. Anderson? Thank you.
All right. Our next question comes from a NewsWest 9 viewer. Have you been talking with the voters face to face? What have you heard are their needs and concerns? Okay, remember, candidates, you each have 1 minute to answer the question with a 30-second optional rebuttal. Commissioner Prude, we'll start with you.
One of the favorite things in my last 24 years is the very first year I ran, I think I must have knocked almost every door in my precinct. And I'll tell you this, my knuckles literally hurt for the next year. And that was a fun event getting to start out that way. Since then, I take phone calls from anybody that needs any help from any precinct, but especially mine. And my answer is, if that's not my job, I don't say it's not my job. I say, I've got a relationship with a city councilman or a school board member, or if you call so-and-so, that's their bailiwick. I don't want to step on their toes. If they don't help you, call me back. And so I've really enjoyed getting to hear from people. I've gone to all sorts of, every kind of event you can imagine. I've been very active in our community in CASA, the Museum of the Southwest. I've been hospice trained, and so you get a really wide range of people that you get to meet. I've been active with the kids out there at the Horseshoe. One of my favorite things is judging goats every year.
Right. Ms. Anderson, 1 minute.
So in knocking on doors, and we've just started the process, and 30-degree weather out there, but we've been out there knocking on doors, and this is what the constituents are saying to me. So I'm not trying to pick, but they're saying we don't get our phone calls returned, we don't get listened to, and when I went to the court and had an issue, my county commissioner in Precinct 4 left the room. And then another person, this is people talking to me as I'm at the doors, and I'm not trying to sling. I'm just repeating what they have actually said. One developer was developing a piece of property, and the state was willing to pay 90% of the road to be developed. The county needed to do 10%. The county commissioner wouldn't work with them.
Right. Mr. Hull?
Well, after being in office for 20 years, I had quite a bit of interaction with the voters. And Randy's right. You have to go take care of it. But on many occasions, Randy always gives the answer, call the constable. The constable will take care of it. And you need to take care of your business. Commissioners' courts are set 1 year in advance. The commissioners right now know whenever court's going to be for the next year. Randy went on a cruise and missed a court. My deal is he's my commissioner. He needs to be in court.
And Mr. Prude, rebuttal, 30 seconds.
Well, I've never had anybody call me that didn't return their phone call. I don't know who you're talking about, and I'd be glad to visit with them if they really exist. And as far as going on a cruise, my wife over the last year has been taking care of her mother who is in hospice and is about to die, and her life has been a living hell. And I did miss one meeting out of 24 years. I think I have the best, highest rating or attendance of any other commissioner or judge, and I'm really proud about that.
All 30 seconds for rebuttal. Thank you.
What role do you foresee the county playing in parks for county residents, for beautification when people drive into Midland? Ms. Anderson, 30 seconds.
Oh, I'm so glad you have that.
Oh, sorry, 60 seconds.
Oh, that's okay. I'm so glad you had that question, because that's one of the things that really saddens me is when you drive in from any area, there's all this trash, and so I've participated with Midland, Keep Midland Beautiful, to do a trash pickup in the county, and We used to be able to have inmates that would help us with that, but with the situation at the jail, we don't have inmates that they can allow to go out. We need to figure out how we can get organizations, groups, because Keep Midland Beautiful will give you $500 if you will do a certain amount of picking up trash. And so we need to work with our partnerships, develop partnerships with the city, with Keep Midland Beautiful, with other nonprofit organizations to clean up our county.
Mr. Hall?
The county's given Keep Midland Beautiful money out of our budget to help with these problems. I agree that we need to clean it up, but that's not really the requirements of the county commissioner.
Mr. Prude?
When I've lived here all my life, and I hate it when I drive in and see dirt and bags and sacks everywhere. So I joined with the Mayor Morales and several other mayors over the last 10 years and to come up with practical solutions. And I'll say it's an ongoing problem, but in my precinct, if anybody calls and notices a specific area that's gotten out of control, our road crews are great about going out there and taking care of it, and I'm really proud of them. We spent 3 days last week doing that very thing. So, but I also think all the precincts need help, and so I'm always glad to help whenever I get a chance. I love what we're doing with parks, and I think we may talk about that later, but I love what we did with Centennial Park. We participated in that, and I'm looking forward to the really master park plan they have for Hogan.
Ms. Anderson, rebuttal? Mr. Hall? Mr. Prude? Okay.
All right. Question 4. Again, this one comes from a NewsWest 9 viewer. Will transparency of Midland Horseshoe be a priority of your term? What will you change in that contract? And Hall, we will begin with you. 1 minute.
We need to get the contract under control where we see where the money's going. Midland County gives the Horseshoe money to bring in events. It's my understanding the people that are making the money are the people that have contracted to run the Horseshoe. The contract needs to be gone through completely because it's not right that we go in the hole, and it's not right that the taxpayers be paying him money to go in the hole.
Commissioner Prude?
We built the Horseshoe starting about 15 years ago, and it's debt-free. It's the only one in the nation I'm aware of that's like that. It's the only facility I know of that is in the black. Everything you've been told is absolutely wrong. In fact, if you want to call our county auditor, in eight of the last 10 years, we've made over $1 million in the black, in addition to the $50 million we brought into the community, which is why you build a facility like this. And we've had over 1 million people go through it since it's been built. People vote with their feet. Joe Kelly's doing a great job. We've looked at the contract over and over. I'm a petroleum engineer. I've had 5 different companies I've run, and I know we take a careful look at these things. Joe's doing a great job, and people in Midland love the Horseshoe. We brought back the county fair. I'm really proud about that, and it's in the black. Let me just tell you, it's over $1 million in the black over the last 8 years, including 2 years of COVID.
Right, and Ms. Anderson.
So transparency has got to be something that the court does for its citizens, and especially as it relates to the Horseshoe. The Horseshoe, and where I have been told, and I'm going to have to get the numbers exactly right because I'm being told it runs in the red every month. And the Horseshoe, let me give you an example of the money we are losing in revenue with the Horseshoe. So if you buy a beer from the concession, it costs $10. The beer costs about $2.18 to the vendor. Midland County gets $1 of that. The management company gets the rest. Plus, they also get the money that they get from their contract. So Midland
30-second rebuttal, starting with you, Mr. Hall.
Well, Randy danced all around the question. It's the contract. Randy's voted against everything the county judge has tried to do to get the contract looked at. That's not transparency. The county had to put the refrigerator in for him to be able to store his beer. That's not right. He should have paid us. He should have paid for the refrigeration, not us.
Mr. Prude?
I'll repeat, Joe Kelly's right here. If you want to get the facts on anything, he's there. He always is transparent, and so is the court. And I'm really proud. It's the only facility I know of that's out of debt, no debt, and it is in the black, and it brings in $50 million, and it has 1 million people that go to the events. It's a really wonderful place, and we're doing a great job. I'm not. Joe is. The court is voting for him all the time.
Ms. Anderson, 30 seconds.
And the Horseshoe is a beautiful place. It would just be really good if the city of Midland had a contract where they of the bookings and the revenue comes to us like it does at the Wagner Noel. They have a great manager there, and the county pays for all the expenses, and so. And you can't find where those expenses are in the financials. Where are they?
Okay, our next question comes from an audience member. What is your goal to reach out to our veterans What is your goal to reach out to our veterans in taking issues to alleviate the ever-growing suicide rate? We'll begin with you, Mr. Prude.
Oh, that's a great question. I am the only commissioner that ever went out to the CAF and participated by giving those guys encouragement whenever Mr. Bill would bring out visitors or veterans. I got to meet the man who dropped Paul Tibbets, who dropped the atomic bomb, and got to say thank you because my daddy was off the coast of Japan when that bomb fell, and my daddy would have been one of the ones I'm sure that would have been lost. We built a wonderful park right next to our annex to honor all the veterans of Midland County from every single war. And as far as the suicide rate, one of the things, and worse than that, just is the discouragement and depression that you have coming back home and how different things are than when you were with your buddies. And so we started a drug court, and we also started a veterans court, a specialty court at the courthouse, and our judges are doing an incredible job trying to help and turn people's lives around. Really proud about it.
Ms. Anderson?
Our veterans are so important to us, and we need to honor them, and we need to take care of them. And my husband was in the service, and he was one of the individuals that led the effort to start the Vietnam Memorial, to build the memorial, and he still works to plant bricks there in honor of people. And my dad was a veteran. I have on my list of things to do to visit with Judge Leah Robertson because we need to support our veterans. We need to see what their needs are because we're here because of their hard work, and we as a community, we need to make sure that they are represented and taken care of.
Mr. Hall?
We have a veteran service officer in the county, but they've got that veteran service officer spread between us, Big Spring, and several other counties. I would like to see us to be able to get a full-time veteran service officer, plus maybe get some mental health available to them. We run the biggest mental health hospital in the county, and that's the jail. So we need to expand.
Prude, rebuttal? Ms. Anderson? Mr. Hall?
Excuse me. All right. Question number 6 also comes from a member of the audience. Would you provide resources for a guardian ad litem for the new county detention center or jail? Why or why not? Ms. Anderson, we will begin with you. 1 minute.
On December the 29th, about 4 days after I filed to run for office, I went and toured the jail. And it was like an hour and a half of the tour that Sergeant Evans gave me. And it was such an eye-opener to see the situation that we have in the jails and the type of criminals that we have in the jail. And in visiting with the different people there in the jail, they were talking about the need of keeping people separated and how they have to be very careful of how they deal with them and the need for mental health. And we need resources for that because
Mr. Hall, 1 minute.
Well, I'm guessing here because I'm not sure what the question, what they're meaning by the guardian ad litem. I would think we do need one because, again, the county jail is the biggest mental health facility in the county. While I was a commissioner at the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, I went before a subcommittee. Prior to that time, the only people that could be qualified as mental health officers were police officers, deputies, and justice of the peace. By us going and getting that law changed, we now are able to put jailers through mental health training where they can go in, they deal with these people every day, and if we do have a guardian ad litem, maybe we could get them out or get them the help they need.
1 minute.
Yes, and whoever came up with that question, I'd love to visit with you more about it because I'm not sure, again, what you mean by the guardian ad litem. I am a guardian ad litem for CASA. I have been for 15 years. I've had the privilege of serving about 10 young people that now have a safe and forever home who were being abused. So, so if this question is directed towards mental health of our facility, it is truly that half of our jail could be emptied out perhaps if they got the other kind of treatment they needed. And so we, the court, are working with Tom Craddock, who has come up with some wonderful money from the state grant to build a mental health facility between here and Odessa, and it's greatly needed. As a matter of fact, if we could have that built tomorrow, we could maybe empty out a third to half of our jail and get those men and women the help they need so they don't go to jail, they get help, they turn their lives around. And so absolutely, if you could visit with me afterwards, I'd love to visit with you more about the subject. Thank you.
Hey, Ms. Anderson, 30-second rebuttal.
to finish what I was going to say, and that's because if we provide them the resources they need and make them healthier, when they come out back into the community, they will be successful and they will maybe be productive members of society. But we do need to visit that.
Mr. Hall. Mr. Pruitt.
Hey, candidates, final question. Precinct 4 covers a broad area from north to northwest Midland and part of Odessa. Have you reached out to residents or Odessa elected officials to see what problems they face in Odessa? We will begin with you, Mr. Hall.
No, I have not. I'm in close contact with the law enforcement community over there because we did have to work hand in hand in Mission Dorado. It's surprising the number of people that live in Mission Dorado when you show up with a Midland County badge. We don't live in Midland County. I hate to tell you this, but you do. So it's an ongoing situation, not only at law enforcement, but with the city government.
Mr. Pruitt?
Again, in the spirit, in 24 years, one of the greatest privileges I've had is getting to meet all the elected officials of both communities, and I feel really great about their new mayor, Javier. He's an incredible man, doing a great job. We work with the county commissioners over there. There are several roads that converge between Midland and Odessa, and we're working together to try to make sure they meet right and that we have the same specs. So we get along really well with those folks. I get to go to the meetings from time to time where Odessa commissioners are available and their DA, and I like to say whether I go to our city council or their city council or their commissioners, there's always a good idea that another group is doing that we can take, and I've stolen several, not the least of which is starting the intern program for the Midland County, because and I got that from another governmental group. So yes, I've enjoyed working with them and look forward to working with them in the future, because we have some really important things we need to get done.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes, I have. We were out there last weekend visiting with constituents and calling some that we know that live in that area. And one told me that they were trying to start a library in Mission Dorado, and they needed the help from Midland County. They didn't get the help that they needed, and so they weren't able to do the library that they wanted to do there. And so I think that it is so important to reach out to the people that live in the city of Odessa that are in Midland County, because they don't need to be ignored. They have issues just like people that live in Midland County, and we need to pay attention to what their needs are.
Mr. Hall, 30-second rebuttal. Mr. Prude? Ms. Anderson?
All right, candidates, that concludes the question and answer part of today's forum, and we move on now to closing arguments. And again, we're going to go in order of ballot placement. And when you do make your closing remarks, we ask that you please stand in the center of the stage and give those. And you will have 2 to 5 minutes, your choice. And we begin with you, Mr. Hall.
Well, if you haven't figured it out by now, I'm not the politician in the group. Sorry. I would like to ask Commissioner Prude where we can find all the money that the Horseshoe's bringing in the county budget. I've looked, I haven't seen it. But I appreciate you telling me or sending me an email showing me this. Last night, Randy made the comment, he's been there 24 years, he thought it was time for him to leave. I totally agree. We need to get Randy's hands out of our taxpayers' pocketbooks. He give $10,765,000 of Midland County tax money to MISD. He's talked about us paying for their internet. That money was paid for with a grant. I'm all for grants. And we give $90,000 to event support. Don't know for sure what that is, but it's in the budget book. I'm guessing that's money to Mr. Kelly. They give $2.5 million to Midland Memorial, another taxing entity. $100,000 to Midland Army Airfield. I'm guessing that may be the CAF. And give $3 million to Midland College. If we kept that money in our tax budget, what would our taxes really be? Randy's given himself a 13% pay raise. Nobody else in the county's got that kind of pay raise. In open court, I questioned Randy about how do you justify this? In open court, it's recorded. His answer was the sky is blue. Is that not right? Recorded. But it's time for a change. I'm going to cut my salary to $25,000 a year. I've taken over my brother's oil company. The salary and insurance aren't the reason I'm running. I'm running for the taxpayer. Thank you.
And candidates, if you would please confine your comments to just your remarks and not asking questions of the other candidates, would be appreciated. And Mr. Prude, 2 to 5 minutes for closing remarks.
Yes, I'm glad the salary was brought up. When I first went to work, the Lord had blessed my business quite a bit, and so I donated my entire salary and always have ever since the day I started work. It's people in the county, there were some employees that needed help, and we did that for a few years. We had a committee of ladies, I think, Karen, were you on that? Mitzi was on that, and people that needed help, we gave it to them. It came to a point where that was no longer people applying, so I just continued giving the money to kids across the world that needed to be educated and have clothing. There's young women and children that are being trafficked, and so I gave the rest of my salary to an international group called Justice. And so anyway, I believe that I've done well with the money that you've graciously given to me as a salary. I provided a good service. The first year I was in office, I went down to a meeting in College Station, and I found over $1.5 million of monies that we weren't collecting from the federal government for housing illegal aliens in our prison. And so we've collected more than my entire salary from the federal government the first year I was in office, and I'm very proud about that. Somebody mentioned a while ago that I said, call him if you need some help. You know, I figured if it was a law enforcement item, I didn't need to take care of it myself. I gave it to a law enforcement officer to take care of. And he did a good job. He took care of it. So as far as salary goes, I'm really proud about the money that you've given me as a salary. I'm proud I've been able to help other people with it, and we'll continue to do that until the day I retire. Thank you.
And Ms. Anderson, your closing remarks, please.
Why am I running for County Commissioner Precinct 4? The current commissioner representing Precinct 4 has been at the post for nearly a quarter of a century. I have watched for over 2 decades what the Commissioner's Court has done. What have they done since Commissioner Prude has been in office? Basically, they have done whatever they wanted without any accountability or consensus from taxpayers. Around the year 2000, when Y2K would end the world and send us all into Never Never Land, the court purchased the county annex and spent millions of dollars remodeling it. Did the taxpayers know what was about to happen before it did? Money was available, so they spent it. The Texaco building was purchased for twice what the real estate company paid for it the prior year. Did the taxpayers know what was about to happen? Money was available, so they spent it. The Horseshoe, same story. Did the taxpayers know that this was about to happen? Money was available, let's spend it. Millions of dollars spent without asking voters and taxpayers' approval. I'm a fiscal conservative. When I'm elected, you will know before we spend your money, even if we have it in the coffers. The court won't change the way it's doing business unless I'm put in office. I can assure you the court is not going to operate the same as in the past quarter century. We need change. We need someone who is a fiscal conservative, who believes in accountability of taxes and expenditures, who will be transparent, who will be accessible, and who will be fair. Albert Einstein said, "Strive not to be a success, but rather to be of value. I will work for your interest, not for mine." Vote Diane Anderson so we can work together to build a better life for our community. Muchísimas gracias por esta oportunidad.
All right, that concludes the candidate forum, and I would like to thank, on behalf of my co-moderator, Emily Oliva, I'd like to thank the Assembly for having us here, and thank you, candidates, for your time and taking part in this. Thank you all for attending, and we're done. Have a great day.
So just the last comment, silent auction will be closing, so Sarah's back there if you bid on anything. One of the things that we will have coming up around Valentine's Day, maybe the day after Valentine's Day, is a meet and greet with all the candidates that are on the, the ballot for the Republican primary. It won't be a 3-hour standing ordeal. We'll try to keep it short and sweet so y'all can get some FaceTime in with voters. But keep an eye out on the Facebook page, and we'll try to get that out on KWELL and then the MRT. But thank you all for coming today. Thank you all that were here yesterday. Local politics are important. I mentioned yesterday the ballot. There are over 30 positions on the Republican Party primary. Do not just push the first one. Look on the ballot, know who you're voting for, get yourself educated, and vote for the right people for the right reasons. So again, thank y'all. Early voting is the 14th, Valentine's Day. I'll say it again, that is not the only day to wear red. Keep Texas red by getting out there and talking to people about why it's important to be a Republican. So the early voting will be on that weekend because there's a holiday on Monday. So you can vote on Saturday, Sunday. That's not a makeup for Valentine's Day, fellas, all right? So make sure you plan that one accordingly. And then it continues up until that Friday, the 19th, I believe, or thereafter. And then March 1st is the actual election day. So you got a couple of weeks to early vote. And then the first, this is a Tuesday. And there are, I think, 5 early voting locations. And then election day, you have over 10. So y'all do not have an excuse to not vote. So please do. If you're not registered, the 31st of this month is the last day to register. So Lucy, who is the deputized voter registrar, will chase you down if we don't see you on the rolls. We'll be calling to see whose name's on that list. All right, y'all. Thank you again. You have a blessed one.